Welcome to the last episode of the day, Child Abuse Awareness. Darling J. Clark. Be a part of the solution instead of part of the problem. The personal stories with one caring community. For now, we're about to deal with questions, Child Protective Services, Helen, a Sissonville case involving children locked in a barn. This is in West Virginia. Bible it says in Colossians 3:21, fathers, do not embitter your children, for they will become discouraged. I'll read these other two verses as well. Matthew 18, verse 6. But whoso shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and that he were drowned in the depths of the sea. And in Matthew 18, verse 10, take heed that ye despise not one of these little ones. For I say unto you, that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven. Please like, subscribe, and share. These stories are very important to a lot of survivors to pass on, to have hope. A lot of different things if we need to speak out to help these people, to help anyone we can is involved in this to help uh, survive the children. The children are who matter. We don't need to cover up the sickness of these sickos. And a copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is used permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. So it's questionable what's going on with the Child Protective Services that are handling a Sissonville case about children locked in a barn. There's a lot of other questionable cases with the CPS. So this has touched my heart because I got some friends who have been bothered by false things that CPS have been doing wrongly and are doing wrongly. People in power are doing things wrongly to re-victimize a lot of victims. And actually, they're giving the perpetrators who harmed them previously, giving the perpetrators, even their kids. Personal experience, I'm not going to name names. I respect my friends. Got a right to their privacy. Sorry, with the weather change, my allergies and everything is messed up right now. Trying to get it back. CPS. Okay. Let me share the page. Share the screen, in other words. Child Protective Services handling a Sissonville case involving children locked in a barn since October the 17th, 2023. I make this bigger because we need to get out the ads, not fixate on anything like this. Hey, glad you are back too, my friend. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming in and supporting me. Lots of love. We'll go and show the three photos that it's saying first, and then I get back to the story. This is Sissonville Barn, Donald Ray Lance, 63, Jean J. Whitefeather, 61. Both of Sissonville were charged with felony gross child neglect, creating a substantial risk of injury on October the 3rd after two children were found locked in a barn. Two people were charged after Kanawha County deputies said they found children locked in a barn in Sissonville. Incumbent Secretary for the Department of Human Services, Dr. Cynthia Pursley, testified before the Legislative Oversight Commission on Health and Human Resources Accountability during interim meetings on Tuesday. Yes, they need to be held responsible for a lot of the things that they are doing wrongly. They're taking matters into their own hands. They are not really protecting the children. Poor kids. Here are the two adults responsible right here. Donald Ray Lance. Make it a bigger picture so you can see a better picture of him. Donald Ray Lance. Let me look at her name again. Jean J. Whitefeather. These are the two POSs. I'm not going to cuss. Pieces of crap, in other words, that did these heinous actions. In Charleston, West Virginia, questions involving how state child protective services responded to calls from neighbors to the agency leading up to deputies finding children locked in a barn in Sissonville have been raised by state lawmakers. It needs to be raised. It needs to be countrywide. There's too many of these cases going on. Incumbent Secretary for the Department of Human Services, Dr. Cynthia Pursley, testified before the Legislative Oversight Commission on Health and Human Resources Accountability during interim meetings on Tuesday while giving an update on the reorganization of the Department of Health and Human Resources. That's right, they need to be reorganized. Exactly. Very proudly put up their mugshots up there again. Again, that's him, and that's Gene. House Health Chairwoman Amy Summers, Representative Taylor of Republican, focused on Pursley's presentation regarding continuous quality improvement of the agency. In the news, there has been the pending criminal case involving the three juveniles in Sissonville, Summers said. People ask about us about that. Our constituents ask about these type of things all the time. Can you explain to this committee what the process is when it's brought to your attention? Were there any failures in the system? How do you go in and review that and determine if changes need to be made or not? Pursley said that there were a number of ways failures in the system would be reviewed, with the first level being between the supervisor and the worker. We need more than the supervisor worker. We need more people that's going to educate and keep a watch on them because they can work side by side and do nothing, like that's going on in Decatur, Alabama, with the police department and the mayor. They need more accountability in so many different areas. It's not funny. We know that our local supervisors are working directly with the CPS workers to ensure that they are adhering to the policy related to responding complaints, responding to calls, that they're doing that within the policy related to how much time that takes and completing investigations. Personally said, investigations, I believe the policy is, must be completed within 30 days unless there are barriers to that completion. For instance, not being able to find the people that we need to bring into the investigation. Summers interjected. So, let me get this straight. So, if someone comes to you and says, we want to make sure we didn't miss anything, these children should have been removed, whatever the scenario may be. So, the first step is the supervisor in that area, whatever geography that area reviews a case. Personally agreed. If it's brought as a problem to me, I'm going to say someone needs to look into this today, she said. Personally explained that quarterly reviews include a broader look at issues, such as how many investigations have been completed within 30 days. But a lot of times they'll close the case and say that it's been completed when it hasn't. That's another fault with them. Then, if we find that there are things that need to be changed, if there are policy changes that need to be made, that's where we would make those policy changes once we see aggregate data. Personally explained. There's a lot of policy changes. Why ain't y'all fixed the policy already? There's a lot of policies that need changing. What are you talking about? That's what y'all decide on making a change? Excuse me, why haven't these changes already been made? There's too many instances of these kind of stuff going on. But you wouldn't wait 30 days to make a policy change if you found there was a failure initially? Summers asked. Personally said they wouldn't wait. If there was an individual situation in which there was a failure, we would take action on theirs. On that. There's been plenty of failures. Did it say that? If there's an individual, it actually says an individual situation in which there was a failure, we would take action on that. I got too many friends that got failed by the system. They got failed by all this. All because they have somebody in with a government cliche where they get away with it. And they have been violated by CPS and they've been violated by this man and everything. And then they get violated when they come and give the perpetrator custody of their child, knowing that daddy or stepdaddy or whatever raped her or raped him. And yet you go ahead and give her daughter to the rapist? What's wrong with this, people? I know some people personally. Personally, was not specifically asked if CPS found a failure in its response to the Sissonville situation. Donald Ray Lance, 63, and Jean J. Whitefeather, 61, both of Sissonville, were charged with felony gross child neglect, creating a substantial risk of injury on October the 3rd. Deputies said they were called to the 200 block of Cheyenne Lane in Sissonville, where two children were found locked in a 20 by 14 barn following a welfare call on Monday, October the 2nd. The initial 911 caller said the children were forced to do farm work and not allowed inside the house. She said that she had called Child Protective Services multiple times on the family. Once the caller saw them locked inside the barn and watched Lance and Whitefeather leave, it's when she made the call to 911. Thank you, neighbor. Thank you for standing up and calling. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. According to reports from West Virginia Watch, Stacy Miller said she called CPS numerous times. See, she kept calling CPS, but they did nothing. They had these kids working, I hate to say it, like slaves, she said. Miller said she never heard back from CPS. Despite numerous calls, no one ever contacted me, she said. Exactly. I'm glad she made that call too. That's very good. I'm proud of her for sticking up. But she kept making the calls and CPS were doing nothing. CPS never called her back. Nothing. It's pretty bad when one of these kids would end up dead. On October 2nd, the day the children were removed, Candace Hilbert told a 911 dispatcher, "There's a family. We have been calling CPS on multiple times. She has two kids locked in an outbuilding. They've been in there for days." West Virginia Watch obtained a call from Metro 911 of Kanawha County. Hilbert told the news outlets she called CPS once. "I never heard back from them," she said. "It wouldn't have went on this long and shouldn't have went on this long." That's right. That's right. It shouldn't have went on this long. CPS says state law prohibits the agency from being able to release details of its cases. Well, I think you need to do some of the details of cases for some of the other people in charge because you got to have accountability. After the interim meeting, Summers told West Virginia Metro News Talkline that lawmakers need better ways to be able to learn about what happened in reported child abuse cases, and she believes children are falling through the cracks. Exactly what happened with the Gracie Solomon case. She had proof that she was sexually abused, but nobody cared. Nobody cared enough to help. You got that right. Too many fails in the system. That's right. We did ask in the committee meeting this morning what the process is when the department is questioned on. Did you act appropriately? I asked the incoming secretary personally that question, and we related it to the pending criminal case in Sissonville with the three juveniles, she said. Summers said she had questions and believed the process was a little vague. Now, Whitefeather and Lance's criminal cases will now be heard before a grand jury in Kanawha County. Well, they still are not doing enough, people. They are still kind of shuffling their feet back and forth. What about holding the CPS accountable? You remember that one story I did when it was a police officer up in New York State where he actually had his kid out in the garage and then he would forbid it forbid him to eat. It was soulless diaper, all these different things, and yet the mother won custody of him. Why did he keep doing all this? And the boy ended up dying. He ended up having a little boy outside who was autistic, sprayed him down in the winter time with a hose, water hose outside. They were held accountable for taking the side of a police officer. They were held accountable for not looking into what's the best interest of the child. I think we ought to use that statute and use that law on whatever happened in that case, and a lot more people open cases and make all these people accountable. And I think they would be very careful on how they handle their cases if more people would use that same statute that was used in this other county, this other state. like New York State. When they're like that and they make choices and they decide against the betterment of the children, and especially if a child is murdered, and look at these two kids, the slaves. When I think about them being in that little barn, I'm thinking, what are they using as a bed? Are they using hay? How are they staying warm enough? Are they just having to cuddle together and do what's best for them to stay warm? Do they have an indoor bathroom? Little things like that. All these questions right there. And yet CPS did not care. They did not care. They just turned their backs. It's like a lot of y'all people out there in Facebook, um, everything else, and just saying it's an abomination. You don't want to get involved. But what's going to happen when your own child gets involved in something like this? How about stopping a lot of this before it happens? Hey, thank you so much for being here, Jackie. And I did see what was going on over there at the White House right now. And they're talking about making a lot of arrests to the Jewish people. That's right there. So it's a dangerous situation right now. I don't think they should arrest them. I think they want peace. I think they're tired of the BS. I think they're tired of living in fear. Now they're talking about, and they're peacefully in the middle of that building. They're peaceful right there. As long as they can peaceably protest, like that's what it's about. Being able to speak up, being able to stop squashing our rights, stop squashing our beliefs, getting the word out there, stop trying to silence us, stop trying to silence them. They got a right. They got family over where they're needing protection. Yeah, they're talking about the cops encircling them, talking about gonna probably start arresting a lot of them. That's what they're asking for. They're asking for peace, basically. They're asking for peace in Gaza. They're asking them to cease fire in Gaza. They want the bloodshed to stop. It's like we want the bloodshed of our children to stop. We want all these people that's perpetrators. How about going to send them over there to that other country? We gladly give these perpetrators that goes and abuses children, sexually abuses their children, stuff like that. Let's go throw them all over there to them. Bring good ones over here. Bring good people. Get rid of the perpetrators. Tie a noose around their neck and throw them to the bottom of the sea. You know, as the Bible said, it's better for a millstone be hung around their neck and thrown in the depths of the sea than it is to harm one of these little ones. How about y'all going to hurt yourself instead of hurting the kid? You are responsible for your actions. Okay, I guess I get off my soapbox. And thank you so much for being here. And we need to keep this case in our minds. And hopefully something will be done for these two kids and these other kids that's around the area. And it makes you think when the CPS is not doing their job, it makes you wonder, hey, what are they hiding in their closet? What other skeletons do they not want us to find out in their own home? Let all the women, children out and the men or stay and fight. Well, let them, right? Too much bloodshed. Thank you so much. And lots of love to you, Jackie. Thanks for coming and bringing that to my awareness as well. Say, God bless. I'm getting ready to try to eat my dinner now. And I'll talk to you later. Thank y'all. God bless. Please like, follow, and share as well.